All right, thanks for joining us this morning. Today is day 2 of our new book, our second Mother Hustler this week, Thursday morning. We will go ahead and jump right into our birthday messages for today. So, you want to open up Facebook. You should have a notification. Have to refresh here to find mine. Here we go. Today's birthdays. So just make your way down the list, wishing everybody a happy birthday. I send personal messages instead of writing on their wall. So I encourage you to do that. Already getting some responses. Hopefully you guys get responses shortly after you send the messages as well. I know for me, I got quite a bit of response just from yesterday, getting back into the birthday messages because I didn't do them for a couple of days while we were in Mexico. But getting back into the routine always feels good. All right, girls, if you are ready, we will go ahead and start chapter 2 in the book. So if you have the book or you want to get the book, kind of helps to follow along with this one. I feel like this guy is maybe Australian, so he kind of talks with the accent and kind of a little slow talking. So for me, it helps to follow along with the book. I just pay more attention and feel more focused when I follow along with the book. But obviously, that's why I play the audio for you guys too, because sometimes it is best to listen. So, kind of whatever type of reader you are is just fine. But we are chapter 2 in the book, and then we're track 3 in the audio. So, chapter 2 is I Am Willing. All right, here we go. This is 26 minutes.
Chapter 2. I am willing. You have the life you're willing to put up with. Think about it. What are the problems? Those heinous, dark shadows currently spoiling the warmth and happiness of your otherwise blissful life? Do you hate your job? Are you in a bad relationship? Is there something wrong with your health? Fine. Get a new job. End the relationship. Change your diet and exercise, or locate the kind of help you need. Seems simple, doesn't it? Even when it comes to the things you seemingly had no say in, like the death of a loved one or losing your business, you have a massive say in the ways you live your life and the aftermath of those events. If you're not willing to take the actions to change your situation, in other words, if you're willing to put up with your situation, then whether you like it or not, that is the life you have chosen. Before you think, but, or start to get your knickers in a twist, let me say one more thing. By defending your circumstances as they are right now, you are actually making a case for being where you are. Give it up. No buts. You can't afford them. They're excess baggage on a trip that requires you to travel light. Circumstances don't make the man, they only reveal him to himself. That's a quote by Epictetus. As Epictetus points out, the true meaning of who you are won't be found in your circumstances, but rather the way in which you respond to them. To start this new process, you must first stop another one. Stop blaming luck. Stop blaming other people. Stop pointing to outside influences or circumstances. Stop blaming your childhood or neighborhood. This approach is fundamental to everything that I talk about in these pages. You cannot, I repeat, cannot dwell in any blame game in your life. Even blaming yourself is completely useless. Of course, you'll face situations that you seemingly can't control. You may even face tragic circumstances like disability, disease, or the death of a loved one. But there is always something you can do to impact those circumstances, even if you've had them for years and still can't see a way. But first, you must be willing. To fully embrace my approach, you must first accept that while there are things that have happened in your life that you had no say in, you are 100% responsible for what you do with your life in the aftermath of those events. Always, every time, no excuses. The dictionary describes willingness as the quality or state of being prepared, readiness. In other words, willingness is a state in which we can engage with life and see a situation from a new perspective. It starts with you and ends with you. No one can make you willing. And you cannot move forward until you are willing to make the next move. When you're finally willing, you can literally experience that willingness, that innate freedom that courses through your veins. And similarly, when you're not, the kind of primordial stuckness that halts and presses down on you like some invisible weight on your chest. Believe me, I hear you. I am willing, but every time you add the but to the end of that statement, you turn yourself into the victim. In my many years as a coach and mentor, I've heard as many complex life situations as there are, from the darkest of pasts to the weight and gravity of the present or crippling fear of the future. I've heard them over and over and over again. You have to hear what I'm saying in the way that it's intended. I'm not saying these things to inflame you. Well, maybe I am, but the intention is to inflame you to your own potential, to make you realize your own greatness, not just to piss you off. Take the case. Imagine for a moment that willingness is missing in your life. Not some wispy, sheepish willingness, but rather a bold willingness, the kind of willing state where you are ready for what's next and ready to act on it. Willingness to change, willingness to let go, willingness to accept, real, magical, inspired willingness. Finding the door. Fate leads the willing and drags along the reluctant. That quote is by Seneca. Either you control your destiny or your destiny will control you. Life won't stop for your pauses and procrastinations. It won't stop for your confusion or fear. It will continue right along without you. Whether you play an active part or not, the show will go on. That's why one of the first personal assertions I teach to my clients is, I am willing. Before you can say that to yourself honestly, you must first ask yourself the question, am I willing? That question demands an answer. It can't just be left there in the nothingness of the universe. Am I willing? It pulls for a response. Am I willing? Its power is irresistible. I cannot escape its press for truth. Am I willing to go to the gym? Am I willing to work on that project I've been putting off? Am I willing to face my social fears? Am I willing to ask for a raise or quit the shitty job? In short, are you willing to stop living the life you have and start living the life you're after? It all begins with the emergence of willingness, that liquid, constantly expanding and contracting state where life springs and seeds. And all of it is within you at the flick of a linguistic switch. We often view ourselves as procrastinators or lazy or unmotivated, when in reality, we're simply unwilling. We put things off or avoid them completely because we tell ourselves we just don't want to do it or that we can't do it. Instead of viewing this behavior as a character flaw, let's create a sense of willingness where there's apparently none. A spark of potential, if you like. You are a master generator of the state of openness and potential. Once upon a time in your life, this state was easy to access, enlivened by the vigor of youth or the curiosity of childhood. Somehow, over the years, we lost touch with this magical state. The famous philosopher and political scientist Niccolo Machiavelli once said, "Where the willingness is great, the difficulties cannot be great." Consider that for a second. It does not matter what you're facing in life, which obstacle you're trying to overcome. If you're willing to generate that state of willingness, that's your doorway to making the effort, taking the steps, dealing with the setbacks, and ultimately creating the progress and changing your life that you're seeking. That's why such a simple statement, I am willing, is so profound. You become enlivened and empowered by its promise, open to its allure. I ask again, are you willing? When the door is closed, maybe you are, in fact, unwilling. In many cases, that may actually be the best answer you can give. Sometimes declaring your unwillingness can be just as powerful as declaring your willingness. Are you willing to live with a body that's unhealthy? No. Are you willing to continue living paycheck to paycheck? No. Are you willing to put up with unworkable, unsustainable relationships? No. I am unwilling. Unwillingness ignites resolve and determination. It provides an access to taking a robust and urgent approach to your situation. When you're unwilling, it often represents a line in the sand where you are no longer willing to go back the way you came. Only when you're unwilling to continue just simply existing, feeling unsatisfied and unfulfilled, will you make the effort necessary to make a change. Only when you're unwilling to put up with the bullshit any longer will you grab your shovel and start digging. At times, there is no greater motivation to change than the unwillingness to do this any longer. Which one works for you in your life currently? I am willing or I am unwilling. Can you see how being unwilling can potentially be just as powerful as being willing? Depending on the circumstance, some of us feel more empowered by the assertion, I am willing. While for others, declaring, I am unwilling gives them strength and resolve. You might find yourself motivated by both equally, depending on the situation. Whichever category you fall into, you can not only shift the personal assertion, you can reframe the way you approach your problems. For example, are you willing to find a new job? Yes, I am willing. Are you willing to stay in a job you hate? No, I'm unwilling. Both assertions can be just as effective. It's up to you to determine which one fits your persona and situation. Which one does it for you? The power of purpose. There's another way for your unwillingness to free you from the hamster wheel. Because sometimes it doesn't matter what you ask yourself or how many times you've said it. You just can't muster the willingness long enough to change anything. You might well be one of life's great starters, but not finishers. At the end of it all, you might have to face the cold reality that you've been all too willing to remain the same. You've been unwilling to fundamentally change your life and lose that weight for good. That somewhere in there, you're okay with living this way. I mean, come on, you must be, or you would have changed it by now. At some level, you must have some tolerance for having your life turn out like this. That's actually okay. Getting straight with yourself about having made the decision to stay where you are can be just as powerful as a decision to move. Why? Because sometimes recognizing that you willingly put yourself in a place where you are unhappy is often all the impetus required to make an opening for real and lasting change. This has to be done without blaming yourself and turning yourself into a victim of some internal blip or character flaw. And the moment you realize you have cognitively and systematically put yourself here, guess what? That's right. You can cognitively and systematically get yourself out. This is also the foundation of granting yourself the grace of acceptance, of embracing what has been and daring yourself to reach for an unimaginable future. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. That's another quote by Epictetus. By stating and facing your unwillingness to change, you can take stock of yourself and your life and begin to create a sliver of light for you to at least start. The secret is, once you've separated the task, or whatever it is you're dealing with, from the drama of the past, you may find yourself more open to tackling it. You'll be able to get past the emotional swirl and straight to the heart of the issue itself. Reaching for the stars with short arms. Some goals simply aren't connected to a reality. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for reaching for the stars and striving for things that seem impossible. For instance, we'd probably all like to be filthy rich. But are you willing to do what it takes to make that much money? Are you willing to work 60, 70, or 80 hours a week, or skip vacations to do the work that needs to get done? Are you willing to take on more responsibility and, importantly, risk it all? Have you, in reality, confronted and dealt with what becoming filthy rich might really demand of you? The seemingly endless drain in your life and mind space. Our society has produced such a headlong rush to be the wealthiest, the smartest, the prettiest, the best dressed, the funniest, or the strongest. And somewhere in there, we have lost the ability to just be ourselves, free to breathe life and choose our own path, rather than carry the burden of social or familial expectation. What does all that produce? Well, a lot of disappointed and unfulfilled human beings, that's for sure. That doesn't mean you should stop pursuing amazing life goals if that's what you really want. It also doesn't mean you should let yourself stagnate and stop improving either. There's nothing inherently wrong in working long hours and sacrificing your quality of life, and some people might be perfectly content doing so in order to make the income or get the career they want. But so many of us have actually forgotten why we're pursuing what we're pursuing in the first place. All too often, we focus solely on what we don't have, even though deep down we don't really need it or perhaps even want it. When I lay these things out, you might be nodding your head. He's right, I don't need to be a millionaire. Or I don't even really want six-pack abs. Which, of course, is all fine until the next time you see that nice car and think, why don't I have that? Or when you look at the cover of a magazine and wonder, why don't I look like that? Or why aren't my clothes that nice? Making sure we're striving for what we really want requires a constant check-in with ourselves. It's not a one-and-done deal. If you really want those things, then go get them. Begin today. Lay out your strategy, deal with your reality, and most importantly, take the actions required and take them often. But if you're not willing to work an extra 10 or 20 hours a week just to drive to work in a BMW instead of a Honda, give up the complete waste of precious headspace to yearn for it. Stop pretending to yourself. Deal with your unwillingness to take on the kind of actions accomplishing those things would require, and accept that you have been bullshitting yourself. You'll have a lot more capacity for loving the life you do have and create some room to begin striving for the things you actually want in life. I am unwilling to give up all my favorite foods just to have the body I did when I was 20. I am unwilling to trade time with my family for an extra zero in my paycheck. Face your reality. Once you adopt the mindset of I am unwilling, you'll no longer be filled with guilt, resentment, or regret every time you see something you think you want. You'll be in a place where you're connected to and in tune with your real life. And if you really want to pursue those things in the future, you'll be able to locate yourself from that reality and plot your road to accomplish them. Chart your path. One of the beautiful things about really taking a hard look at your life and goals is that doing so forces you to reevaluate the path that leads to them. Is exercising 30 minutes a day really as impossible as your mind has built it up to be? Sure, you're going to get a little sweaty, tired, but you can throw on your favorite music to help the time go by faster. And even though it might start out painfully, you'll eventually get used to that and grow stronger. What's the worst thing that can happen if you offer your idea in that meeting? It gets shut down? So what? Even if you're faced with bigger tasks, much bigger tasks, like years of back taxes, a hoarder's paradise of a garage, telling the truth to someone you've been lying to, the path to change starts with that same glimmer of willingness. Bear in mind, we all tend to build things up in our minds to be a lot bigger than they really are. Telling the truth becomes a trek to the Sahara Desert and back. If that's the case for you, try breaking the task down into smaller declarations of willingness to stand up, get out of bed, open my email, etc. Of course, you might well be dealing with something much bigger than these examples. But even when you ramp it up, the same model works exceptionally well. Let's say you've been holding on to a dark secret. Maybe you're ashamed or guilty or resentful. Perhaps this is something that could change your life in a significant way. Am I willing to tell the truth to that person I've been lying to? When you frame it this way, coming clean becomes an occasion to talk, listen, and then deal with the consequences. You might be dreading it, but you can do it. It's not the task that's important. It's the life that's available after that's at stake here. When you are free to be open and available, with nothing held back, no lies, no withholds, or half-truths, you really are your most expressive, most alive self. Most of the time, the task we're actually facing is a lot simpler than we think it is. The problem is, we usually don't take the time to really look at it. Some of the things we face certainly can be challenging, but at the same time, what's on the other side of those challenges is a life of our dreams, a life where we are willing and open and inspired to take it on. Make that assertion. I am willing. Plant your flag. When you start to view the world through the lens of what you're willing and unwilling to pursue, rather than what it seems you want and don't want, things start to become a lot clearer. Instead of wasting time worrying about the things other people have, you'll start focusing on what's really important to you in your life. You'll realize that once you replace envy, lust, and desire with a willingness to change your life for the better, things really start to take shape. When we understand what we are genuinely willing to do, we take back control over the subconscious thoughts and feelings that previously directed our behavior away from where we truly wanted to go. You have the ability to determine what your truth is, and not from some subconscious glitch that keeps popping up from the past either, but instead from your cognitive and conscious self, from the power of intervening on behalf of yourself. Willingness is a truth, a true beauty that only you can generate. No longer will thoughts like, I'm a failure because I'm not a millionaire, or I'm lazy because I'm not a size 6, have the power to make you feel like crap because you've owned your choices. Once you frame the obstacles in your life as a matter of willing and unwilling, instead of weighing yourself down with negative opinions of yourself and your circumstances, you can break through the self-imposed barriers that are truly holding you back. You can see through the distractions of self-talk and drama. You'll realize that when you're willing to do what it takes, nothing else matters. You won't put off the things you're truly willing to do. You won't neglect the responsibilities you took on because you'll feel the strong sense of willingness to do them. Willingness. It's the lifeblood of the new, the infinite well of possibility and potential, a state where new futures arise and a whole new you can begin. Ask yourself, am I willing? Over and over until you can hear it. First thing in the morning, last thing at night, while you're driving, while in the shower. Am I willing? Ask, ask, ask until a resounding yes echoes through your consciousness. I am willing. I ask you again, are you willing? Chapter 3.
All right, that was chapter 2. And I made a post in the chat that the willing versus unwilling things have a lot of post ideas swirling in my head. I just feel like the willing versus unwilling to like make a change to be healthy, to start Thrive, or I'm unwilling to put in the work that it takes to earn this amount, per week. I just think that those willing versus unwilling questions can kind of grab people's attention when it comes to like starting Thrive and taking control of their health for sure, or even starting promoting and making a change for their finances and for their future and for their family. Like there's a lot of good post ideas that come from these books, which is where I get a lot of the post ideas in the first place. It's so important to get a new promoter to read personal development books because they do get a lot of ideas and not only inspiration just for themselves, but also inspiring post ideas, to in turn inspire other people. So, all right. From here, let's work on our stories just a little bit. I know staying consistent with these stories really makes a difference. People are watching. It's not a matter of if they reach out, it's just a matter of when. Had a couple people reach out while I was on vacation that haven't reached out in almost 5 years. So it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when, not if. But staying consistent really helps that process. So let's take a minute, either post all of us on here together this morning, or 3 steps of your Thrive experience, 3 steps of Thrive skin. Maybe you've already done that this morning, so it's an inspirational quote. Take a few minutes to do this, and then we'll meet back up. Yes, I'll be playing this at 8 o'clock tonight. So if you want to get back on tonight and listen again or do the activities with us, you are welcome to do that. All right, let's finish up our stories and then we will move on. Okay, so yesterday we started a list of people to follow up with, people that have maybe asked about Thrive before, said that they're ready to order, just haven't actually made the commitment and placed their order yet, but we know that they're like on the fence. Deja and I were kind of talking about that before her three-way call yesterday. Like she felt like she has a lot of people on the fence. You know, they have basically said they're ready to get started and they're on the fence with like waiting for the next paycheck or whatever it may be. Like the timing just has to be right for them, but they're in. Those are the kind of people that I feel like would be great to make a list of and just write their names down and reach back out to them to see if they are ready to start their experience, because the $600 in PPA volume is required to earn the $400 reimbursement to Thrive Palooza. So I want to make sure that everybody at least qualifies for that. That way, you guys have the option to go if you're able to go. So I would love to have you guys there. Honestly, this is the best event of the year. Like the getaways are great, but Thrive Palooza is definitely the most important. So at least getting qualified, and then if you're able to make it, great. The $400 reimbursement would definitely cover your airfare. And then if you do qualify, I'm paying you back for your ticket. And then really all you would be responsible for is just your hotel room. So hopefully you could find maybe one other or two other people to kind of share a room with, so that the cost of the room would be less. And that would really be all that you would be responsible for to get there. So I thought of a couple other people last night that I needed to add to my list. So, first off, just make a list of these people, your follow up list. Tomorrow's Friday, and this promotion runs through March 15th. So, you actually have another Friday on March 13th as well. So, we just I know if I don't procrastinate and I reach out to these people now, that will be the best possible chance of them ordering, because if they don't get paid this Friday, maybe they get paid next Friday, and both are in within that time frame that we need to get the $600 in new orders. So it can be Thrive Nutrition, it can be Thrive Skin. It doesn't matter what the orders are, as long, I think they do have to be $100 or more to count for PPA. But other than that, that's it. So make a list of those people. That's first and foremost, and then I'm reaching out to them with maybe just a little incentive for them to order. So, like this person here, um, I would just reach out to her and say, "Hey, that we, I know that you're ready to start Thrive. Just checking in with you. Wanted to let you know that the cost of our 30-day supply has permanently reduced by 25%, because really it did. It went from, I think I talked to her about the 190 pack before, so it went from 190 to 150. Just telling her it permanently reduced by 25%, so $150 to start your experience. And then, maybe I have $15 in credits on hand that I could just say, hey, if you can order by next Friday, or this Friday, put a deadline on it, or Sunday, whatever it may be. If you can order by then, I'll throw in shipping. I'll cover your shipping costs too. So I would just throw in like $15 in credits to cover the shipping. Some incentive for them to order, because I know I'm looking at this list and all these people are kind of like, well, I want to do it, but um so that kind of gives them the push that they may need to actually pull the trigger. So let's work on sending some messages like that, going down our list. I will tell you that customer referrals also count for PPA. So if any of your current customers, I would go through your current customers that are ordering and see if maybe they can grab a couple of customer referrals this month. Ask if they have had anybody interested in Thrive, anybody asking them questions about it, and you could maybe pull an order in for PPA there as well, and help a new customer thrive for free. Like, that's amazing. So new customer and new promoter orders count for PPA. So let's work down the list here. If you need help or you want to give me a scenario in the chat of a way to reach out to somebody, feel free to ask. This is a great time to ask those questions, and I'm here to help you. Remember, it does take an average of 8 to 12 follow-ups before somebody places their first order. So don't forget that. Don't feel like you're bugging people. I've had people reach out to me and say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you never gave up on me, because this is amazing, whenever they first start their experience. So I don't think anybody's bugging anybody. You don't have to worry about that. All right, girls, I am going to go ahead and stop this recording just because it's been an hour. I will play it again tonight at 8. So if you have anybody that you want to invite that wasn't able to make it this morning, please do so. And then I encourage you to just keep adding to your list of people to follow up with and really stay consistent these next couple of weeks because as we know, people could sometimes just reach out of the blue and be ready to order. So that could be some unexpected PPA. But for this list here, keep adding to that. And like I said, we have 2 Fridays left, follow up Friday, to really reach out to people and get them committed to placing their order and get those numbers for Thrive Palooza. So, all right, we will meet again here tonight and then next Tuesday. So have a great weekend. Keep pushing, and I will see you girls next week. Feel free to reach out any questions you have through the weekend. I'm always here and I'm here to help you. So let's do it, girls. Have a good day. Bye.